Family and friends gathering outside the Spokane Veterans Memorial Arena today to remember and pay their respects to family and friends who were killed or wounded during the attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941. Today is significant. It marks 80 years since that attack. A color guard from Fairchild Air Force Base started the ceremony. Retired Air Force officer Brian Newberry led the ceremony in a moment of silence at just about the time the attack took place in local time.
A day that will live in infamy. Bob Snyder was just 8 years old when the attack took place. He was living just 3/4 of a mile from the attack. He remembers his civilian father telling him and his mom to hide under the bed for safety. When the attack was over, he remembers looking outside and he recalls what he saw.
And then when we looked outside, it was dark from all the smoke. It looked like it was late at night. But the destroyers in front of our house were still there. So when I looked at them, I was watching them earlier before the bullet missed father, and I felt like they saved me because I saw what they were doing. It's dramatic.
So those in attendance placed leis around a wreath to remember those loved ones. The attack on Pearl Harbor marked the beginning of the U.S.'s involvement, of course, in World War II. Well, an Oregon football team was in Hawaii for the Shrine Bowl when Pearl Harbor actually took place. Now we reflect on what that experience looked like for them.
We have witnessed this morning a severe bombing of Pearl Harbor by enemy planes.
On December 7, 1941, the Japanese military attacked the American naval base at Pearl Harbor, killing more than 2,000 soldiers and decimating the U.S. Navy's Pacific Fleet. America was going to war. As news of the attack hit the wires, Oregonians held their breath. Some of their own were on the island. A local college football team caught in the chaos. Just days earlier, the 1941 Willamette Bearcats had arrived in Honolulu. Traveling over 2,000 miles by sea, they were in town for the Shrine Bowl, a series of exhibition games in America's normally peaceful paradise. Having won the Northwest Conference back home, the team was eager to test themselves against tough competition. Quarterback Ken Jacobson brought his camera along, snapping this picture from the team's hotel overlooking iconic Waikiki Beach. It was the perfect end to a successful season. On December 6th, the Shrine Bowl began. The team lost their first game to the University of Hawaii. It would be the only game the Bearcats played. The next morning, confusion. Something had happened. Rumors of an attack at the nearby naval base. Within hours, martial law was declared. The football teams, players, and staff were called into action.
A military car came by, and one of the officers, there was an officer in the car, and stuck his head out the window and said, "Have you men been mobilized? Been mobilized yet?" And they said, "No." And he said, "Well, you are now."
Author Bill McWilliams, an Air Force veteran, wrote a book on the Bearcats' trip to Hawaii, Scrimmage for War. In the days after the attack, leaders feared a land invasion could be coming. The Willamette football team and others were armed and placed on guard.
They were handed wartime duties that had them occupied right up until the time they got on board the ship to come home. They were having to dig, lay barbed wire and dig firing positions.
It would be nearly 2 weeks before it was safe to evacuate the team. With only a few hours' notice, they were scrambled to the SS Coolidge for the journey home. Overcrowded and filled with wounded soldiers, the team did what they could to help, supporting medical staff and preparing lifeboats in the event they needed to abandon ship. On Christmas Day, 1941, the team arrived in San Francisco, their Hawaiian nightmare finally over. Many would go on to serve in the war, but none would forget December 7th, the day they defended their country on the sandy beaches of Waikiki.